Yes,
Give me the
please.
word. Just give me the word. This is the word. This is the word.
That was weird.
You're on.
Thank you. We had a snafu, I think, on the notifying people. So I think what we'll do is this: we'll get an accurate email list, and there'll be an email blast about the next meeting, and then we'll have the data for all the members to come, so to make sure everyone gets.
This is 2 west of the Walk Hill. This is already on balance.
Just to note it. So I don't know if we can. What we can do is postpone, since we don't have all the members here, the approval of the minutes for the last meeting, and when we get everybody's email address, we'll send you those. They have been done, and the people who were on the committee so far have been. Thanks to Ariana. And so before we leave tonight, we'll get the basic data of everyone. And the 2 of you are new, and there's several other new people who are joining us. Oh, sorry. So this is basically the agenda we had from the first meeting, other than to adjust the dates and to say we're approving, honors the approval of the minutes of the last meeting, which we'll postpone, and we'll have both this meeting and the next meeting on there. So one of the problems is to define exactly how we're to proceed. On the one hand, was thought that we're to help to generate interest and answer questions so that people who don't know about it will know about it and hopefully come down and participate in these committee meetings of various kinds. And there's only, I think, 2 committees that are close to the general population. One is the, I don't know if it's called the steering committee or whatever, but that's basically the 2, the town board and village board. And then I believe the finance committee is made up of certain finance people who have experience reading municipal budgets. Otherwise, all the other committees, if someone is interested, the only thing they have to agree to is to participate in the meeting, and that just be a name on the list. They're welcome to come to any of the meetings. The second thing, besides education and recruiting, that we do is that as the committees perform work and have something to say, that we get that something out to the public. And there's a list of things that we talked about how to do that. And I think once we get to the point where we have something to put out there, we can make assignments of who's going to do what to get it out there. And one of the tools we will use is the Channel 23. Well, that's one of the things that I was discussing with Sally Rhodes before this meeting started, about different entities who are involved with this process will come on the air and be interviewed about where they stand on their work for the committee at that time. And I think Amanda suggested to have call-ins if people have questions, and we're going to ask Don Kerr if he can set that up so that people can come on in and answer questions. I think we also discussed it the last. You didn't discuss it. Okay.
No, I don't think it was my idea.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll give you credit for it.
Oh, okay.
Another idea is that we'll put a set still piece on the TV and other places about, questions about consolidation process of committees, and give a reference, whether it's one or more phone numbers, whether it's a website, something that people can, anybody who wants to know anything can call in.
What's your timeline? I mean, you're not looking at this November.
Well, when the joint boards met, they wanted to start these committees right away. Then everyone said, well, we need to have time so that people who are interested can join the committees and I think they were late in getting it in the paper, but eventually did get it in the paper if you're interested to sign up. So it wasn't gonna start for a month. I believe that most of the committees have started to meet so far, with perhaps one as an exception. I know the Finance Committee, I believe, has met several times, and they're really trying to get into it. So we have kind of an ongoing responsibility, education, and then putting out the word as it comes in. And then eventually, if they're gonna move forward, the committee will put together a plan, consolidating all of this information into what people agree is the way to go. And there'll be a plan, and then that'll be presented to the two boards. And the two boards then can vote to put on a referendum to ask their electors, their voters, to vote yes or no on this plan to move ahead.
One election?
Well, that's one of the committees is working on. There's two different ideas about that. I think Dr. Benjamin suggested if possible that we have the people in the village vote, and then the people out that are in the town outside of the village vote. But then there was question whether that was unconstitutional about one man, one vote, and so forth. So I don't know the answer to that yet, but they're hoping to do that. But if it's illegal, obviously they won't. And then if the referendum is successful and both pass it, then there's a period of time that the two governments have to come together and implement it within 2 years. And you probably read in the paper, heard someplace that at the people in New Paltz's request of their senator and assemblyman, that they passed a law which made it clear, which wasn't the case before, that creating a coterminous government would be eligible for the special funding from the state for the transition. And if you went to the special presentation they had in the town by Ken Bond, their bond counsel, about this, assuming that the legislature continues to appropriate money for this purpose, that it would be $1 million a year in perpetuity in the New York State legislature. There aren't two things that go together in my head, but
Right.
anyway, that's about the best we can expect.
So basically, the time frame is when the committees get together, and the vote probably would be separate from a general election. Is that your?
I would say yes. It can't possibly be this November
year,
because they won't be ready. And I think many people are
Want to
hoping
get it?
that there will be a referendum on this prior to the next general election. And this, of course, they have to decide on, but that's, I think, how it's looking right now. So,
Well, I know I'm on the HR committee as well.
right.
So we've had 3 or 4 meetings, and we've been tasked with looking at contracts and benefits and things from the town and the village, and trying to come up with something so that it's all one.
Mm-hmm.
If the town and the village decide to go, so that everybody has a standard set of benefits, and this is what's available if you're negotiating contracts. It's not even going to, talk about perhaps if possible. This is what it is, so these aren't things that we can talk about in a contract. You get these days, you get that, so.
Yeah, and possibly, they'll request things like we'll set it up, or we'll set up a new tier for new people, benefits up until today or this, and then from now on it's that. I mean, the same way they've done.
New
Say
hires,
they can do
right.
it, teachers and so forth,
Yeah.
because of the expense. So and I know so the finance and the HR people have met. I think the facilities one's the one that's behind, if I'm not mistaken. So that has to go.
And I found out, one of the things that is already happening, because you and I were talking about this, is that Brian Kendis has been putting all of this stuff on Facebook.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, because he created the Village of New Paltz official Facebook, and all of this stuff has been being put
Is
on
it
there.
a group or community or?
All of what stuff? The minutes?
All
or-
of the announcements of the
Events, these
the meetings, yeah. So like if people wanted to join in on that, then Facebook was their method of getting
And I
information.
believe he's on the HR.
I can
He's
find
on the
out.
HR,
Yeah,
Has he
yes.
posted a description of all the different committees and what they do?
I think so. Yeah.
Go
'Cause I think you're
Brian.
getting the town supervisor sort of marching her way
I
with
was like,
the
I was like,
merger.
Well,
And I don't know if that's gonna hurt this group. I mean,
I don't know either. I mean, at the meeting the other night, she said that the two issues were separate, which they certainly are, but I don't know what people's minds is still that
yeah.
the two issues being the consolidation process on the one hand and possible transfer of the middle school to the governments to make a government center for various governments and the police and recreation facilities and so forth, which is, you know, that may be a good idea, maybe it isn't a good idea, but hopefully it won't slow down the process of studying otherwise what we're doing. Now that would be something that should be looked at by the facilities
Mhm.
committee, because we got this complex isn't too new, but the town halls is definitely not, a great building. So hopefully they'll get going soon. So I guess the floor is open for discussion on any of these. I think that the thing that we should do is in the near future set another meeting and make sure that everybody has a notice, and it's probably my fault why everybody didn't get it. And the method chosen is not a good one. So we'll get everybody's email and send them a blast. We don't want a meeting everyone to death. I know probably everyone here is on several committees. We certainly are for our responsibilities. I know Randall is.
And Sally just asked me to do 5 hours.
So Randall, we're gonna give him a cot over there. He'll be available 24/7.
He's on TV when
I know.
Is that-
That's what I'm trying to avoid,
You're a
right?
superstar.
I'm like, at least it's honest, and I'm like, doing something positive, right?
So I
Yeah.
guess that's kind of an overview of where we are.
I think
What
this
did I
should say chairperson.
Chairperson, okay, well,
Second.
I assume that everyone wants to put off the decision on who's gonna be chairman of
Let's
this
see who's
I don't
organization.
know.
Committee,
I
and
think we could totally
Gail's not
elect
here,
a chair.
so.
Stuart?
I'm looking at him. We
What about
already
Gail?
I'm a
discussed
person.
this.
What about Gail? Is she willing to chair?
I don't think so.
I have just a sort of a housekeeping thing. I think probably one of the things you should think about perhaps is coming up, we've talked about the outlets for the information, but we haven't necessarily talked about the types of information we want to give to people. And I think if the goal, we need to figure out what our goal is. Is our goal to encourage people to support this, or is our goal to just inform them about the options and what happens under each scenario?
Window number 2. We're not, no matter what our personal feelings may be, I think our job is to,
Unbiased dissemination of
Unbiased.
information.
this
Because-
is the information,
yeah.
and not withhold anything, or
We're not campaigning for something.
I
We're.
mean, that might take place, but it won't be in one of
understand.
these
That I
meetings.
understand.
I mean, when Sally was talking before, she made a couple comments that made it sound like this group was supposed to be out there telling people why we should consolidate. Where I think the original charge of this group is to be out there telling people about what it means for us to consolidate.
Absolutely.
And
I think
as the
it's-
particulars become available, put it before them, and anybody out there in viewing land have any questions, ask them, we'll get you the answer.
Mm.
So that by the time we get to this referendum, if we do, then
Nobody can
people
say we
will,
didn't
as
know.
many people as possible, hopefully we'll have as much information as possible, so it'll be an informed decision.
Exactly.
And I'm a strong believer in what Tom Olson many months ago said, you know, the English professor at the college.
Yeah.
Let's do, you know, the 1 page, let's not do the 20 page
Yeah.
with
Right.
graphs. Let's try to consolidate
Mm-hmm.
what this is saying rather than having so many reports and so many numbers.
Yeah.
And we can always refer them to, this is a synopsis, but should you wish to look at the original document,
Yeah.
you can click on, I assume, and get this report off the village website.
But it's pretty complicated.
Well, it is if you haven't
It
followed
takes a
it.
lot of time
If you
time
haven't
to
followed
really
it,
put your
it's-
minds in
it's
there.
a
And most
long-
people aren't following it.
Exactly. Well, not most people don't have the time to read those kinds
Yeah.
of documents. You know, when they're doing their reading, it's other things.
Is it possible that, I mean, you can obviously synthesize anything that we get for public consumption, which
Yeah.
is what I think we should do. But is it possible to, and I know it's on the list, but you know, set up something with the Times so that they are interviewing each committee chair,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can talk about what they're tasked with and what the charge is.
This is exactly what
And
we want
then
to do.
next
yeah.
week, they talk to finance, you know, here's how we're looking
Yeah.
at the finances, this is what we're doing with the finances, this is what we seek to achieve in this committee, you know, and then go down the line and then, you know, look at pros and cons for each. I mean, I think to put it all out there so that people can consume it and come to their own conclusions.
Right.
But they need to have the information in order to do that, and the information needs to be easily understood,
Yeah.
not complicated, and you know, if we can, where we can, bulleted so
Yeah.
that people can grasp it on the go like an a la carte menu at
Exactly.
McDonald's.
We talked about a lot of this at our last meeting, like exactly what you're saying about having the New Paltz Times have a weekly like consolidation corner and you know basically have a report on what each committee is doing, do something on public access where each chair is interviewed or a representative from the committee is interviewed. It's really a matter of tasking these things for people to actually go out and make them happen, as opposed to us talking about it and figuring out. But the idea of the conciseness of it, I think, is what we did not really discuss last time. And who's going to maybe write something like that up and break it down to be like the bullet points.
Now, Sally Road suggested until we have serious input from the other committees, then we should, you know, be on the education part, you know, questions and answers or things of that nature. So maybe before our next meeting, you could give, when you get the email from Ariana and from me, you will have our email addresses if you don't already, and then by a certain date, get the questions, and then perhaps at our next meeting, we could see if we have the answers to them or where we're gonna get it, so that by sometime, say, by the end of September, we can have, you know, a set piece, and then decide how to do that, whether just printed something with here's the questions and answers, or do
I mean,
we
it's like a
have people
simple
ask them on-
definition of coterminous.
Mhm.
A simple definition, and you know, what does it mean? You know, is there still a townwide election? Is there still a village-wide election? And you know, it's
Those
a
are
rather
questions people
complicated issue, and I
Oh,
sat
yeah.
in a lot of meetings,
Yeah, me too.
and I'm like, oh my God, this is very complicated. And I'm not going to say we aren't cheerleaders. I think you want to get as much information out there as possible.
I think we're cheerleaders for the people having a full set of information.
And just making sure they
But
are
there's no
educated.
excuse that anyone who wanted to
It's an
won't
educated,
know what we're talking about.
an
The best,
educated voter will look at this and have,
I mean,
the
there's some
facts.
people are just going to break it down into very
Emotional.
simple terms. Am I going to pay more taxes or less
Yeah.
taxes? Yes or no? And,
Yeah.
and that's how they'll decide. Then other people who are more involved with government may say, well, the taxes are important, but are we going to make it
And-
user-friendly to have one government as opposed to two?
and
What-
Jerry
what's
is your
good or bad
greatest
about this?
PR person. You just gotta streamline it somewhere. And the Jerry is your greatest PR, I think, in knowledge.
Yeah,
But, sometimes he gets a little too professor.
yeah, well.
But, he has such we're so lucky to have him here. And I think he's really, his knowledge is right.
I'll have it that you can pick on the screen. You want the simple version, the medium.
Yeah.
which is
Jerry,
scholarly
say it in
version.
English.
Well,
Press 3.
one of the things you could also do to go along with those questions is, instead of, we could conceivably come up with some questions on our own.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I was suggesting
we
before
could
the next
ask,
meeting.
yeah, or we,
Even if you don't know the answer yet, get us
but you
the
know what,
question.
the other, what might be a more streamlined way to do that would be to task each committee to come up with questions for themselves that people might want to know based on the things that they're
I mean,
do
have them do the questions, or we give them the questions and they give us the
well,
answer.
they should, I think if
They
you're on
might know
that
the
committee, they
questions
should,
best as well.
they should be able to, I mean, because they're figuring out what they're trying to do, so they
They're
should
the
know the
experts
answers
on
to
that
it. Right, just like
section.
I could, me, Kevin, and Brian and crew, we could sit down and talk about what consolidation would do as it relates to what it would accomplish and what it would change based on putting two governments together.
How many committees do you have?
6 or 8.
Because if each committee came up with 1 or 2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
The financial, I don't know financially what I would add. I do want a concise definition of coterminous. I think we've got to get that nailed.
And that's a question
And
that
that's
should
a
be come out of, that umbrella committee where all the elected people
Yeah.
sit. Those are the types of questions that,
I think maybe we have to do this in waves. All right? So
Mhm.
here's the first wave of questions and answers, and other questions and answers will evolve as people do more work on it. And, wave 2 and wave 3.
I mean, I think also we want to derive a lot of questions from the public because
Mhm.
again, we're so informed, even though some of us are also still very confused because it is very complicated, but the public even more so. And so we may not even think of answers or questions rather that need to be answered to the public because we just take it for granted that we already know these things that we wouldn't think to. So I kind of see it going in a circle where we're getting questions from the public because they're going to ask, the questions that they ask are going to tell us what the public is most concerned about. Because obviously their questions are going to be the things that they're thinking about and they care about. Yeah, and taxes is going to be a huge one, but also like, hey, is somebody still going to plow my roads? Those are important questions too. So I feel like it's going to be a constant cycle of feeding information from the public to the committees, then from the committees to the public, and same thing with questions. Like as we're giving questions and asking questions at the committees, and they answering them, we're gonna be giving them more questions from the public, and then we're gonna be asking questions to the public. So it's just gonna be a constant cycle
And
of
I
questions
think
and
that,
information.
and I think that's
Absolutely.
perfect. And once, and then we can have a little bank of these things. So as we get the questions and answers, they go on the list. So you can go through and frequently ask questions and answers and look at them. But how do we elicit the input and the questions from the public?
Well, first we start by disseminating the information that we already have. We have a report. We have a committee recommendation. We have the consultant's recommendation plus the committee's recommendation. We have the report itself. We have the summary of the report.
So how do we get them to ask us questions about that?
Well, we could do.
Clipboarding.
We can pound the pavement.
Tabling.
we can table and pound the pavement. It can be fun. It can be fun.
Stuart didn't know tabling is that kind of verb before.
That sounds different to me. But
We can
Maybe table
flyer. We can also just like go to places and start conversations with people. We can.
Yeah, we
You
should have
know,
a table by at
we could go to
management.
We can even
Yeah,
talk to some
exactly.
of the local bars like 36, Bacchus, Gilded Otter. Maybe they'd be willing to host some like kind of meet and greets where people can go there and maybe we'll have like some free.
Oh my
food,
God,
like,
yes.
happy hour.
You know
kind of
how
thing.
you have the one book, one New Paltz? They meet in different places.
Yes.
And they have different facilitators.
Yeah, you have a number 7 on there was one of the things on there, like invite the public to group sessions, Village Hall, Town Hall, SUNY New Paltz, outdoor venues, library,
Yeah,
you know, and the institutions in town, but I mean, that doesn't mean that they can't be in social places either. I mean,
Yes,
it's just the sky's
that's the
limit.
best place.
The more the
People
better.
show up for those.
And we
those
might
things.
generate interest from people who are just there anyway,
Mhm.
and maybe just get, kind of reach out to more than just like the already involved choir.
True. Well, that's the whole point. There's a relatively small group of people that know much about this, and if you get the referendum, and you still have that small group of people, it's not going to be very rewarding.
Yeah. I mean, I've already had a lot of conversations with business owners about consolidation. People that I know about consolidation for the past, God, how long has it been? A year and a half, 2 years now, since we've been involved on this thing.
Yeah.
And I've gotten a lot of the things that I would bring back when we were on the CAC, or just, in my involvement. And at the joint meetings, lots of things that I was bringing up are things that also just came from conversations I had with people who either live or own businesses in town.
So this number 6 on the speakers bureau, I use old-fashioned terms because that's what I'm used to, but it's another way of saying the same thing. And so you have to get your dog and pony show together, and then have people volunteer to take it to the venues, various kinds, every kind you think of.
and the newspaper, if you do have a update section on the
We
consolidation
have-
process, I mean, do you have an email? Do you have someone that if there was a question, they could email you?
Well, that's
they could
that's-
act of-
That's
I
what I
don't
was
want
mentioning
something-
about Channel 23. You have to put the place, or you have a question, this is where you email or telephone or
But if someone
answer
really
machine.
gonna
Well, we haven't
set
done it
it
yet,
up,
but that's the
yeah.
idea. And the paper would be similar, right? Paper puts it in there, by the way, you have any questions, here's where you do this. And then somebody or a variety of folks have to take that.
But you have to make sure someone is actually the secretary of the site and actually responsive to it, and that it is attended to,
But
that
could
it
the-
just get deep sixed.
Could a Facebook page be used in that way?
I
I
don't
mean,
know
people have
enough
the
about it
opportunity,
personally,
people
but we
have,
do.
I presume you can, I mean, that's one of the, to piggyback onto what you're saying is it is a circular process. Call it 360 communication, where it just keeps going around and around, and I think the first part of that communication is the people who know the most about it putting out the one sheet and stuff that they have, because that's going to generate the questions, because people aren't going to understand everything that's there. What's this mean? And okay, so we got a smaller government, so how much am I going to save? I mean, the questions are going to come when you start putting the general information out about what coterminous government means, what consolidation of services is.
Maybe we should take this in small chunks. In other words, bulletin board on Channel 23, something on Facebook, which I don't really understand, but somebody will. And here's 5 questions, and some discussion of them, or 3 questions.
Okay.
And then you have questions about this, or you have anything relevant, other questions that are like this, call us, and then every week have different questions.
And people could come to our meetings
Of course.
also,
And the thing is that what we could do at our meeting, unless it's a very straightforward question that we can answer, is get them, find out who they are, and make sure that we get an answer back to them. By the right person.
Well, I feel with Facebook, because Facebook, the way it operates, for people to, if they were to post a question, it could easily get lost. It would make more sense to have the information posted on Facebook and people can comment on it, but to have an email that people send their questions to, so it all goes to one place instead of somebody having to comb through all of the call. Because I mean, for those of you who are not on Facebook, there's the Village of New Paltz. It's not like an actual government Facebook, but it's like a group. And there's been things on it that have gotten pretty vicious. Like something that started fairly innocuous, and like all of a sudden people are like having this crazy debate and calling each other names. Like we want to avoid stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why people can't post on the Village.
Yeah. So it'll be we want to have an email so people who can get the information from the Facebook, but then ask questions through the email, and it'll be easier to keep track of.
And we think we should get a phone with an answering machine too, because there are people who don't have computers, believe it or not.
Right.
But can't you do
We have
that
no
with Facebook? You can
Well,
have it if you
Yeah, you
have
just
a
have a
page,
email,
if
yep.
you have a message.
Exactly.
there, you have, and people can message the
Well-
questions and then
No,
care for the
if
administrators
it's,
of the page.
if it's a page though, I don't know if you can send
We're good at our
messages to them.
jobs.
Consolidation
A page is different from like a page
Yeah.
profile, you know?
Okay.
Oh, okay, well then yeah, that's all right there, that would be
Yeah.
perfect.
Because a friend of mine has, for one of his political, but it's not here, but
Okay.
down in the city, he has and I'm on that page, and
Oh, okay.
I can, and what you're doing is, his page is a group.
Okay,
So it is, when I write to the group, he as administrator has
Right.
access to that message box.
so that's a group, not a page though, right?
Well, it's a page with over 12,000 likes on it, but people write to it, but as the administrator, he is that page, and he can go
Okay.
in, he says he can go in as Joe Blow or whoever.
That's how it is for the Village of New Paltz.
Right.
And like
So the
Brian made
administrator-
me an admin
The
as
answer
well as
man.
himself. And
So, right, you can, so somebody can write an email to Village of New Paltz page,
Yeah.
and you and Brian can go in there, look at it, and
And
respond
respond.
back to that person in person, to their personal Facebook message, I think. He
What?
explained it to me, so,
What if by our next meeting, you could speak with Brian and see what we're capable of doing and then have a recommendation for us
Yeah,
on the Facebook end of it. Channel 23, I believe, will cooperate and let us put bulletins up when they don't have a show on,
right.
and they'll, I'm sure, do live shows.
Who
So-
are the members of this committee? Do we have them?
Gail, who wasn't properly notified, I think Sharon
Pete
Applegate, Pete Healy. Who am I forgetting?
3 of us. Gail has 2 other people.
Chris is moving, right?
He moved.
They already
Long
moved
time
in.
ago.
Just Gail Applegate?
Sharon,
Sharon.
Gail Gallery and Sharon Applegate. Well, Gail Gallery's been active in a lot of things in New Paltz, including transportation study.
should we have
So-
a PO box in addition to a voice, like instead of, I mean, a voicemail? Or
I don't think we need any of this stuff. I think that if people have questions that they need to call on the phone with, they can call Village Hall and Katie can write it down for us and
That's true.
we can get these questions. I don't think that many people calling who
Well-
can't email us.
I'm
Well,
sure
I-
Katie's
I
aware of
think that we have to keep in mind that we're multi-generational here, and, there are people who,
I know,
They
but we
write
already have
letters.
phones. I think it's ridiculous for us to go. All,
So you get a
all these
PO
things are
box.
not going to happen.
so you get a
Are you
PO
going
box
to
for
go
a
get the
year.
PO box?
Well,
I'm not going to
okay.
go get the PO box. Like,
Okay.
I'm just saying, realistically, we already have an address. We already have phone lines. Like, we don't need to do extra
Well-
work. We need to communicate
so people
this
can
information
just
to people.
send it to Village Hall,
attention.
Care of,
attention.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
but
good.
we should have people be able to
They
have
should
a
be-
simple way to
yeah,
mail
yes.
something.
Yeah.
Agreed, but we have an address. We don't need to create
Right,
Okay.
no, that's true.
more work
Yeah.
for ourselves.
So we'll just use the Village Hall number and the Village Hall.
And hopefully, if the newspaper does it, if we have a corner,
Right.
that would be the perfect place
Mhm.
for people who don't have emails and things
Yeah, and we
to send their letters to this, and we'll, follow up with it in the next corner or however
Yeah, I think-
frequently it comes out.
I put
Yeah.
that on there. I haven't gone to speak with them. at
I could
the
ask
present.
Aaron or
I-
Mike,
Well, no, I'll ask the editor,
editor.
yeah, and I'm willing to do that, or
Okay.
we can, or
No,
I
go
try
ahead.
not
I
to
don't
burn
know.
your
I never know. Yeah,
Unless
I
Sue
don't-
wants to do it, but I'd rather she came to the meetings and then we don't give her too much to do, or else she'll.
Stop
Go
joining
fishing.
us.
Do we want to try to convince Deb to actually have a reporter come to our meetings?
Well, I think if we're
Or-
looking for a special time, but no, I don't see the point in that.
Okay.
If they really need to know what happened at the meeting,
Yeah.
give them the
So
date.
we'll just write it ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's right. Now, maybe,
I mean, it'd be great if they wanted to have a reporter come and cover all these meetings and write all of this
Well, that's what I was
stuff.
just saying. It might save us some work, but.
well, I think that's too much to ask because even though reporters they have now that they can pay them for so much and they only say part of the board meeting, so I don't think they'll be sending it to this meeting. But, you know,
But maybe we could, because we talked at our last meeting about having a designated person on this committee who collects all the minutes from all the other committees so that we have them all, you know, in one solid place. I mean, that could be something that, I mean, the minutes I took last time would be enough.
Well, the way to do that
in articles
is
to
to just
be
have them
written
pick them
on
up from the clerk. Because everybody who does any minutes for anything is supposed to send them.
Supposed to.
Well, then
To
we'll
the
talk
clerk?
to the other committees and say, you should have minutes and you should send them to the clerk because we're gonna go get them.
We have,
Track
we do minutes. I don't know what happens to them,
Well,
but I do know that we keep them and we approve them.
when's
in
your
our
next
meetings.
meeting?
Our next meeting is the 6th at 7:30.
Well, I don't wanna go, I just want
Sure.
to ask you if you would write down there when you go there, will you see if they're sending them to the clerk or not? And if they're
Are you
not,
talking
would
to
they-
village clerk?
Yeah, it's the only clerk I do.
You sure it's the 6th? There's nothing on the calendar about that.
No, hold on, I'll tell you. I will tell you. Add to the list. Yes, 7:30, Town Hall.
Oh, at Town Hall, okay. I thought all the consolidation committee meetings are here. No? Alright.
well, the reason is because
This is clearly not a topic I should bring up. I get it, I think.
Don't answer.
well,
To the hand.
well, I mean, the plan originally was they were going to get in-house video at the town hall.
At
We
the
were all going to do
community
it at the
center.
town hall.
Well, there was
Community
also a note that said it was they were all gonna be here and they were all gonna be scheduled by the clerk here, and then I don't know what happened, and so I'm not the chair, so I stay out of it. And when I
That's
show
what I
up,
gathered from
I show up
the face
where
of
they
it.
tell me to show up.
Yeah, so as far as I know, we do them all here. The ones, the meetings that ones I'm on are here, and they're obviously being taped. But anyway, would you be kind enough to ask them if they're sending them, reminding them that they're supposed to send their minutes to the village clerk, and they might send them to the town clerk too. I don't care, but
Yeah.
then we will.
Should send them to both.
And
I
we
don't
will-
see why both
right.
shouldn't have it.
Right, and they can do that by email, and then we'll collect up what there is before our meeting and take a look at it. So we're gonna, you and I will go talk to the editor of the paper.
Yes.
Okay.
To the town clerk or village clerk? Are they supposed to go to town or village?
You know,
go
I
to-
think they should go to both because
Send it to the
then
village clerk for sure.
either one
because
would have
We
it.
have some input on that, but probably it would be a good idea to send them to both. It's just a simple email.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Whatever they do,
They may
they
do.
do, but they have it, and hopefully they'll want to use it. So we'll do that, and Amanda will talk to Brian about the Facebook and what our capabilities are, and come with several brilliant ideas in the next meeting. Everyone will consider some questions that we can use as our initial questions. We know one is simple definition of coterminous. Sue suggested, but if everyone came up with 2 or 3 questions or more, if you want, then see if we have the answers to them, and you could, email them to either to me at my village email or Ariana at hers, because I'm sure we'll forward to each other, so that we can be prepared to start that pretty soon, right after the next meeting, if we feel confident that we know the answers to the questions, and maybe set up groups of questions and start. And by then we'll know what the paper will do, we'll know what Facebook can do, and we'll know what Channel 23 can do, so that's a start.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, and maybe that's after we have the final recommendation of the 2 boards about going out for referendum, then I think we should get to some of these hand-to-hand combat with the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts or the Honor Society or whoever,
And actually, here's a synopsis in one piece of paper, or 2 pieces of paper, and this is coming up, and we all think it's important. We hope you'll call us with any questions, and in the meantime, maybe we can post other notices. Here's the place where you can call us and give us your input anytime.
So that we're not reinventing the wheel, is it possible that we can get, I'm assuming there's an executive summary from the people who
did the survey?
I mean, that should be a jump off point. We should, because I would presume they've already got a bunch of things outlined as to the questions, and we could look at them and then see which ones are really confusing and complicated, and try and muddle through those, and then the easy stuff, poof, just put up.
Yeah, I think that's true. I went to almost all those meetings. I wasn't on the steering committee and gave my input at the end, and as did a few others. But my folder on that is like this because they had a big report each time. But the ones that they had at the end, should have some pretty good questions. And some of them are very detailed, and if you didn't hear the analysis, then they're not going to mean much to you.
Right.
But the basic ones, which is what we got to get everyone to start to think about, we should be able to come up. So when everyone commit to 3 questions, send it to Ariana or maybe for the next meeting. Is there any particular time? The committees are encouraged to meet at night because there are people who work. Well, the people in my office are wondering if I'm working full time anymore. But anyway, so we're going to meet at night for that purpose. Is there any, maybe rather than take a lot of time now, if there's good or bad times, would you also send that to both of us, and then we'll get with the clerk and pick a time. The first meeting we had at 7:30, and people asked that it be at 7. Does everybody like that?
I like that. Yep.
Some of the meetings, like the revolving loan committee, they told us they wanted to meet at 6. So everyone has their own thing. So 7 o'clock, and if you'll just tell us what, these would normally be Monday through Thursday, one of those days. If it's 7 o'clock, then we won't have it on the same day as the village board meeting, because they meet on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Wednesdays of the month. So,
or is frequency? Once a month?
Well, I think that, probably once a month is enough, but I think the next one has to be sooner because we didn't get the accurate notice out to people, so we got to do it, in the next couple of weeks, so as soon as we can, so that we, and then if we can send the minutes of this meeting out with what we decided on then, and the minutes of the first meeting out to everyone, then I'll have something to talk about. You think there's anything else from this list or whatever else you have in your head that we think we ought to be thinking about or be doing by the next meeting? Oh, by the way, the idea was to everyone to bring some more people who would be interested. So I found my 2. Is everyone fine? They hate me, but they're fine.
What else were our tasks from last night? Master contact list. Sally had said that she would get together a list of all the chairs and conveners and committee members. She sent us the other stuff she was supposed to send us, the recommendation and the charges to the committees. But I think that some kind of master contact list would really help us get in.
For this committee or is it?
No, for all of the committees. So that if we have a question, we can send it to everyone on that committee, for instance, and then we'll be able, the response time will just be faster. Instead of relying on just one person to be doing all the work because they're the chair.
So you're going to speak to Sally?
Yes.
Okay. She likes me.
She likes me better than she likes you.
No. So does most everyone else.
I'm just picking on you because of, it's redundant. exemption from Monday night.
Okay.
He was mean to me on Monday.
I wasn't
He
mean.
made fun of me in front of all the bankers.
It was some
Bankers.
gentle
Revolving loan fund. I took it very well.
Yeah, she did. She's like me. She doesn't get angry. She just gets even
On television.
wherever.
Yeah, see, that's the bonus, is that mine's been filmed.
Okay. I'm humble, truly.
Alright, but I will talk to Sally about that.
Okay. Do you want to elect the chairperson tonight, or do you want to put it
I
on?
thought we already did.
Yeah, you're it. You can't get out of it.
I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
Okay. Lovely. All right.
You pushed it, you should have let it go.
No, that's all right. You need to have one.
Better
I'm
get
not
leadership.
seeking the job, but somebody has to have
That's the kind of leader he wants to it.
Oh, okay. Humble and gracious, yes. Okay. Okay, is there anything else? I don't want to hold you folks up.
Stuart, I'd hang out here all night. What are you talking about?
It's fine with me. But so
Quick questions.
everyone has a
Availability.
little bit of something to do.
And where they're doing the minutes. Where my committee is sending its minutes.
Yeah, and maybe they could send us whatever they've sent so far, or
Yes,
send
yes.
it to the clerk,
Do you
and
get
we'll
them?
get them.
Do you get
You get them in writing, or
I'm trying to think.
physical minutes?
Is it
So-
Kara Rupert?
No. The people on the HR committee consists, it's me, Kevin Barry, Brian Kinvitz, Amy Cohen, Ross Pollock,
Who's the
did I
chair?
forget anybody? And Don Kerr.
Who's the chair of this?
Well, Brian and Kevin sort of, Brian and Kevin sort of split it. So I don't know, you know.
Okay, well, you'll
I'll ask them about
enlighten us on
where
that.
they.
The other thing we ought to perhaps do is have somebody, when you talk to Brian about Facebook, you can talk to him about the website too, because he's the website guy. Somebody like to do that for the town.
Which
website,
website? Specifically?
The village.
Oh, you maintain the village website?
Well,
Well,
he's
he's
the
our
liaison.
liaison.
He's the one who's been
Oh.
working on it, so he knows
Okay.
more than anybody.
So just
Does the town
how
have one?
what we
I assume the town has one.
Most of that stuff is so inaccurate and old. It's not
So the
updated.
guess would be
That's-
no.
Would you like to find out?
Yeah, I can find out.
I have to say
Well,
it's
I
better than the towns because all the town looks fancier. Every time you click on something, it's like there's nothing here.
Yeah, there's nothing, it's not updated.
Well, maybe you could at least at a minimum find out who's supposed to be doing that in the town, and then if you don't have an opportunity to speak to them, what we can do, at least we'll know who to nag.
Mm-hmm.
We're good at that. Right, nobody likes it.
So I'm just trying to find out what Brian can do as far as putting stuff up on the website for us on the village website.
Yeah, just what are the possibilities, knowing what kind of things we're trying to achieve here, you know? And then maybe the next time we'll look at the speakers bureau and setting up these hot meetings. We'll come up with some fancy name for them.
As long as it's a place where alcohol is available, people will come.
Well, I think
Yeah,
we gotta go to a
especially
variety of things.
Unfortunately.
Especially if we negotiate free snacks.
Yeah.
Well, everyone will have their own ideas of where we should go, and maybe we could.
I think we should go to 36 Main / the new El Gallo, but I still call it the new 36 Main.
No, I think we should go all kinds of places. The churches
Agreed.
and the schools.
And we
Well, I
can,
think we
we
should
should definitely have one at Snugs. Come on, we need to get a diversity of population here.
Yeah, but we want people to want to go there.
And we want to
Well,
get.
no, but I'm
People other than like us.
Well, no, but that's the thing is, I want to get people who already go to Snugs to like know about these things too, and potentially get someone interested in, even if they're not going to come to a meeting, at least give us input.
You know what we can
It is
do.
the most local bar.
We can make a list of
You're right.
all the various places and institutions, you know, and then
And
contact
the
them all and
Jewish
see
community
what.
center is a good
Yeah,
spot.
the churches, you know,
There's just
Good place to hold something.
different civic groups, the Rotary or whatever.
I think it should be a great project for a high school civic class too. Get them out in front of ShopRite bowling people.
No, that's true.
The
Yeah.
high school too, don't they have to do something?
High
in
school
community
civic
service?
Consolidation
community
government.
Or how
service.
about
Yeah.
political science department?
It'd be a great
projects,
project.
local government
What
projects.
could be more important
I
than
can
that?
ask
The
my neighbor,
communities.
Well, let's get
Dr.
Sherry on
Benjamin.
that. Yeah.
There you
He'll
have it.
love me for that, but anyway. So, I think we just have to have a real diverse group of people we speak to, so that there's no excuse, anybody cares at all, that they have an opportunity to go to something they feel comfortable at. And, that's the only way we're gonna get the majority of people to know.
Right.
Some of the people just aren't gonna, they're just gonna turn it off.
Yeah.
And as far
Okay.
as the summary and having like a one pager or a couple pages, whatever, that we're gonna be giving to people that kind of break things down in a very digestible way, we should like leave them in places all over town, like laundromats, for example. So while people are sitting there doing their laundry, they might look at it and like,
yes.
be like, oh, what's this about? And you know what I mean? And it might catch their eye, maybe just a little part of it might catch their eye. I put tenants' rights guides there all the time and they go like hotcakes.
That's
so,
really good, yeah.
and just, other places around town where people tend to be for a little
You
while.
know where we should put them? in the stall doors in ladies' rooms, because you're sitting there looking at it anyway.
Yes. Brilliant.
Well, that can be yours.
I don't know.
I don't mind doing that. I'll put those up. Amanda and I will go
And we'll
around
get
town.
Ryan to do it in the men's room. Oh,
Exactly.
Yeah.
What was the O part?
Oh, we said really face the other direction, so maybe we should.
To put them over the toilets, yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
Is there anything else we should talk about before we adjourn? If not, remember our little assignments, they're not overwhelming.
When do we want to, roughly, when do we kind of want to have our first party?
First we gotta accomplish something.
No, I meant the party that we're going to have to like get people to find out more about this.
First
Like,
we gotta get our act together and get the data and
We get the
Speakers Bureau,
information.
and then we'll work on all of those
Right.
things. I mean, there's any tasteful
Well, I think
thing
it
we
might
can
be.
do.
I mean, wouldn't it be good if we set a deadline for ourselves as to when to have those things done by? And
True, because we want to have those things.
And pick a date
at our
now.
party.
Because if we want to hold an event and we want to hold the event in September, we need to start planning that now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even if we don't have all the things at the same time,
I don't
that'll
know
be our due date.
I don't know if we want to start the actual face-to-face things
That's
by
soon.
September, because I don't think we'll know enough. We
September
the
is
educational
Saturday.
program and the seeking questions we can start as soon as we can get the things together. But I mean, October probably would be a good time.
And we
Because
don't
they're
have
not going to
our
have
committee
meetings.
members here either, so there's probably some ideas that we're not yet hearing.
Mhm.
Right, so if we put the things
Well,
that
but
we're
we
talking about in
have
our
the
minutes.
information like the recommendation,
Yeah.
things that aren't from the current committees, but we have all the recommendations and information from the study that we could. I mean,
I kind
just
of,
because it's been disseminated before, it doesn't mean everybody knows that.
I agree with that, but I tend to think that if you're going to go out and have a speakers bureau or events, that you want to be fairly well along, because you're not going to get many people to come to more than one. So you want it, so here's a little history, but here's where we are today and here's where we're going.
I think we should
And
do
we
a.
need your input.
At least we could do a background event
But
then.
we want the public input also to be partially guiding the committee's work.
Right.
But having a party is not necessarily going to do that.
No. At the point of like having an event, I'm calling it a party because it's much more fun
Change it
than
to
calling it a
event.
meeting or calling an event.
Or a
Parties
forum.
or a forum. Party just
I
sounds
like that
more
better.
appealing. But anyway, part of that is going to be to present the information and to get people's questions and get people discussing it and talking to you about it and asking questions. And that's where we're going to start getting some of our input that we can then feed back to the committee.
Because there are questions that we do have answers to. Like, I mean, like I think that you brought up some good questions, like what is coterminous, or like, the very basics of what does this even mean.
Some people
at
don't
all.
even know that this is even happening. Like
Well-
people don't even know that we're even thinking, or that they don't even know that there are two different governments.
Well, why don't we do this then? If you want to get started on that, we're all going to have at least 3 questions for the
Mhm.
send in before the next meeting. What if everyone sent in 3 suggestions of places to have events of whatever to be defined later, and who the contact person is for that venue? And then we'll have a starting point, and if that's in the minutes, hopefully the rest of the people who are on the committee will read that. And when we send in the minutes, we can ask them to read and do certain things for us. How would that be? Probably everybody knows 3 venues and the contact person off the top of their head, so that's not an overwhelming guess.
I
Yeah.
don't go to bars.
Well, they
Well, it
don't.
doesn't have to be a bar though. Yeah.
Church either.
Well, you must go somewhere.
It could be
Library.
a
Town hall.
restaurant, it could be a library.
Right, you're always in
Yeah,
meetings,
right.
right? But no, but it could be a variety of kinds of
Certainly-
spaces. The
certainly-
Elking Library is a good one.
Certainly should be in the
Washington
Elking
Library.
Library.
Carol Roper had a great event about housing and in the basement of, which church was it? One of the churches on Main Street.
Methodist.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And
That sounds like them.
we had an event talking about like
Us.
housing and housing needs and all that kind of stuff and you know, Rupco and all of these things. They had a presentation. And it was really great. There was a ton of people there. Kathy
So we
Williams
can,
was there.
things like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
sure.
I can't
There's
a
imagine
variety
that
of
any of the
spaces that we
churches or
can
civic
do.
groups wouldn't,
Yeah.
you know, especially if someone's coming in and presenting the
But
program.
food
They
is
don't have to
always
do
a
it.
draw, even if
Yeah,
it's like a
well,
potluck.
But we can, whoever is gonna be coordinating those can work on that.
Okay.
So,
Party queen?
You and I are, yeah. I was just gonna say we're obviously we're the ones who
You
don't
keep
know
later
about this.
hours.
We're gonna
You
obviously do the work for
You
it.
keep later hours than the rest of us.
Oh God, believe me, I wish I didn't. On nights I'm not working, I'm
churches
asleep
do-
at 9.
So many of
9:30.
the churches do like a brunch kind of thing, like coffee and donuts, like after mass. You know, we could also see if we could go in and talk to
We
people
can
about one of
infiltrate
those.
things that already exist.
Exactly.
well, I mean,
Internet ladies.
there's administrative boards of all these organizations. And
Well,
they have
exactly.
monthly
Those are the
meetings.
contact people.
We're not gonna just show up. I mean, we're gonna
Wow.
talk to them ahead of time. 'Cause
Guerrilla consolidation
yeah, 'cause
study.
they'll announce those things on the
We're
church
ready for the
bulletin.
consolidation.
They are.
Aren't you guys ready to consolidate?
They announce those things on church bulletins. So
Today's
it's good to let them
sermon
know
is
ahead of time.
consolidation.
Exactly. That would be fun.
Sister annual.
Right.
Okay. So, before we adjourn, we had someone finding out about the website and the Facebook from the village. 2 of us are going to meet with try to meet with the editor of the paper. And there's more than one paper, but we'll start with that one. And there's other media too. We're all going to send in 3 questions. And
All
the
of
an-
this is
and-
on in here, so.
Right, and the answers if we know them, and if not, we'll find them. And then all of us are gonna send 3 suggested venues for some kind of event, whether it's just, we'll decide case by case how we're gonna do that, and who the contact person at that venue is. So that's not overwhelming.
And times that are good or bad for you to meet.
At times that are good or bad for you to meet. We're gonna meet at 7 o'clock unless there's no 7 o'clock slots. We'll try to set it up here because we're easier to find out what's available here. So any questions, anything further? Would someone like to make a motion to
So
adjourn?
moved.
Is there a second?
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye.